Hello, hi everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Edward, thank you so much for sharing your voice this afternoon. And Bill, I can't wait to hear what you have to share. It is truly an honor to share the space with both of you and a real privilege to be here. So, being that it's November and we're just after a weekend spent in gratitude and loving company, I think I'll begin today with a poem from the collection instead of butterflies. All the poems that I'll be sharing today can be found in the book, um, and well, it's not morning anymore, but it is somewhere in the world. So this one is called November Morning. It's inspired by the mist that characterizes this time of the year for me, and it's quite short, so enjoy. November morning. Mist slips through treetops this morning, like cream into teacups all over the city, a sweetness to soften the bitterest black. Whisper thin and glacier slow, it presses against the outermost of the double panes, like spirits, ghosts almost, and reminds me how lucky I am, and how blessed, to be on this side of the glass, that there is always something warm within reach to wrap these hands around, no matter the cold, and makes me grateful. Thank you. So that was the first one done. It's my favorite time of the year, and the mist is truly one of my favorite things about it. So of course, being a poet, you got to write about your favorite things. So this next poem is a little bit about the process of writing poetry for me. About the difficulty of calling forth something that seems larger than we are from somewhere deep inside of ourselves. So we'll use this poem as kind of a gateway between our lovely morning mist into the rest of the poems that I have for you today. So this is To Call Forth the Whale. 1. You must believe at least that the whale exists to begin with. Stone gray, blue, or bracken bruised, you cannot call her if your bones refuse to beat belief, and so I call her forth quotidian and calm. Swallow salt and practice breathing in the deep end. Grow strong not with hope, but with knowing. 2. You must meet her where she is. You cannot call the whale where picket fence and oak shade grow so thick, not this far inland, so, rubber booted, safety soled, I go, and pick apart the seam between sea and myself. 3. You must call her by her name. Pronounce it right, all vowel. She will not recognize a driftwood dry facsimile. No, to summon one must plumb one's depths, and so I call forth the whale that the whale might answer. Thank you. It isn't always easy to put the facts and feelings of our lives into words and to give them shape, to give them voice, to let them speak. And it's sort of the task of the poet, isn't it, to try. But it's not always easy. And this next poem is one of the most difficult that I've ever written and speaks for an experience that is otherwise difficult to articulate. But now that we've called forth the whale, I think that we're ready to hear it. And I'll try to do it out of memory, but I'll keep the page open just in case I need to cheat. All right, this one is called Caesarean. And for my next trick, he says, I'll need a brave volunteer. The spotlight roves the darkened house pretending, but I was picked out in advance. Planted here midsection, 6th row back, 2 seats in, 40 weeks and counting, and when the light arrests on me, he smiles behind his mask, turns one gloved palm upward, open, says, ah yes, a round of applause for the brave lady. The audience obliges, and I rise, performing sheepish like she-wolf in my own clothing, backless gown. Let him spin me in sight of the crowd. Let them see I have my doubts, but no fear. Yet, prove once and for all I am in fact a woman, alive, perfect and entire and decidedly unsawn in half so far. Numb from waist down and nothing up our sleeves, he lays me back with slow hands, just like rehearsal. I make a little show of squirming for the crowd, make it clear I have my doubts but no fear. Yet, polite applause, half-hearted. A curtain drawn, then parted, just enough to show I haven't fled, my feet, my head, and the tender swell of belly there, and then the saw, real and raw and medical grade, sleight-handed from mid-air, the oldest trick in the book. But the audience stirs in earnest now, eager at the sight of all those teeth, hungry for blood, baying like hounds, restless and skeptic in suspense and disbelief. But this is what they came for. They want to see me open, arrayed, flesh flayed in gore and glory, gutted, work themselves into a froth of frenzy to be glutted on beautiful butchery. But they want more. They've seen this trick before. And laid out on the table, still separate from my legs, I watch the masked magician change his gloves. And now I am afraid. He breaks the pas de deux we practiced, sinks his sterile, steady hands into the cavity he carved, and I am seasick. Shipwreck in my belly weighs up anchor, flips me inside out and turns me top hat. My hands to useless doves in cages disappear, pulls an inconceivable rabbit. Alive, pale and hairless, perfect and entire from the well of me. A cord is cut. A hush falls over the crowd. The crowd filters out of the house, satisfied in clouds of blue balloons, chrysanthemums, they light cigars, each one suddenly my mother, my father, my sister, my friend, and you and I are skin to skin. My kith and kin, your first cry, open mouth, my smile, my lips stretched wide as the new scar that splits me hip to hip. You are here. And presto changeo, I am instantly transfigured. Can never be unmothered now. Ta-da! We make magnificence. Thank you. Ooh, I think I made it. Ooh, I'm sweaty though. I made it. We did it. Oh, that one's hard. Thank you so much. So a lot of my poetry, that one included, especially in the last year and a half, has focused on lineage, family, origins, and home. And up next, I have two poems for my grandmother, and I think I will just read them together for you. Yeah, the first one is called Grandmother Spruce. A tree fell in the woods, and I am 600 years too late to hear the sound she made. But I have heard the spines of pine trees break enough times now to almost understand. She watched 600 hunter moons grow full, ripen, and empty while she lay this way, with roots exposed, outstretched on forest floor, before a conekin found the hollow of her throat and sprouted. The first of them to fall bore up the smaller, named herself nurse, and called the other daughter. Ring by ring, 600 springs the seedling grew, each root enfolding, holding on, as sapling waxed, and mother waned, decayed. Now all that remains is a giant that stood on the back of the giant before her, and the space underneath, where the nurse ghost is. Space just enough for one little poet to sit and play seed in, to metaphor herself into the story. 6 centuries of spruce above, 600 years too late. And 6 feet away stands my grandmother, half ghost, snow-peaked, fingers Queen Anne's laced, eyes upturned like midday daisies, smile uncurling like ferns. She turns to me, barley moon blooming, a cone of my own caught in my throat. She says of the ancient pair, I wonder which one I am. And a twig snaps somewhere deep in the rings of my rib cage. She is the giant who bore up the giant who bore me, who bear up my own. She is a whole forest of old growth. That is the size of the space she will leave when she's gone. Inside. The boxes arrive, at first without warning. Inside, well-worn storm cloud sweater, room to spare. Freshly picked rock from the garden, quarter tube of lipstick, powder kiss, costume jewelry. Inside, paperbacks and leather bounds with spines intact, poems, homes, and rabbit holes. Inside, Tupperware of last night's supper, spare ribs, linguiça, biscuit, and mash. Inside, your last freckle, last black hair, canine teeth, 2 hands, banned books, old stories. I watch for them now, from the kitchen window, secondhand fists on hips. Inside, bullfrog-scented swimming lessons, bartered for fresh-baked brownies. Inside, the difference between letting the cold air in and letting the warm air out. Inside, can you pick me up from school today? It's not the flu, I just need your soup and a movie. Inside, a language we don't speak anymore. Inside, your favorite hymn you never knew the words to. Inside, every weekend I didn't call you. All the silence when you hoped I would. The silence when there are no boxes left. Thank you. Let's see, I've got 2 more to read for you today. I feel like I've gone faster than I meant to. When I timed out earlier, I was worried I would run out of time. I guess I could pull a wild card if we have too much time left after I'm done with these 2. But these last 2 that I do have chosen have to do with change and place and changing places, language, identity, and intergenerational homesickness. So first, I call this one Ship of Theseus. In order to perform, let's try this one off the dome. Let's see. I'll keep it open just in case. This is one of the first ones I wrote to perform, so hopefully it's still in there. In order to perform a metamorphosis, you cannot simply change. You must isolate, deconstruct, rearrange, be liquefied, and redesigned, redefined, refined, reform, and be reborn different. If you pick apart a sailing ship and reconstruct it bit by bit, replacing every piece of it with something new, at what point does it become a thing other than the ship you thought you knew? This is not a riddle we can solve by being clever. This is a truth that we can never understand until we pick ourselves apart and put our pieces back together. I am a ship of Theseus. I am larva, moth, and chrysalis, and so are you. Friend, did you know that every 7 years or so most pieces of your vessel recreate themselves anew? Skin cells, fingernails, taste buds, bones. It's like a step-by-step reincarnation in real time, like micro metamorphosis, like the thing I like most about rivers is you can never step in the same one twice. Change is inherent to life, and loss is inherent to change. Loss, but not grief. No, the butterfly does not mourn the loss of the caterpillar she used to be. She carries pieces of her, always. She uses them to fly. Thanks very much. I do have one more chosen, and then we'll see what happens after that. I honestly don't have a gauge anymore of what time I'm meant to stop. So we'll do this one, and then we'll check in. And I don't know, I'll take a request? I don't know. We'll see. This last poem I have for you today is my first attempt at incorporating the Irish language into my poetry. It's a life goal of mine to learn the Irish language, which is currently endangered, was at one time illegal, and is now struggling to survive, but is alive and used as a first language in certain areas of the island. It's a personal goal of mine to write increasingly bilingual poems in English and Irish as I continue to learn. And my pronunciation and grammar will be inevitably imperfect, so bear with me on that if you happen to be fluent in this room. But for now, I think all you really need to know is that Kapel means horse, Ishka means water, and be here, which rhymes with the English phrase meaning to be present, means in Irish, be west. We'll try this one from memory too, but I'll open to the page just in case, because it's been a minute. For context, this poem was written last summer when all of us were canceling any travel plans we happened to have. And this was after years of saving. My husband and I finally purchased our first tickets to leave the continent and to go visit Ireland, a place of both of our heritages. So we were heartbroken to cancel the trip, and this poem is the result. I'm happy to report that we were able to visit this year, and it was everything I hoped it would be. I should have saved that for after the poem. I should have left that as a mystery. It's been too long since I've performed anything. Okay, well, here is Be Here, Be Here. I stand the farthest west I have been in over a year. Up to my ankles in ocean, the deepest I can go without soaking my clothes, and stare farther west than I've ever been. Listen for the whisper of home in the headwind, wait for the thunder of hooves in the hissing foam, but I know there are no Kapel in these waters. This Ishka Pacific ro ada too far, ro huan too quiet. I know. So I stand with a fistful of promised land, let Tir na Nog sift through the sieve of my fingers, and find myself thinking of Ashin again, Again, oceans away, and the couple that carried him west to be here in Enacht Lani of Kinor. I think of my great-great-great-grands on that wild Atlantic shore, the wind at their backs, their sacks full of gassa and famine, and across the sea the lady of amber waves is beckoning, beacon hand high. No choice left but to board the next boat going west from Cork to New York and beyond, to be here where I am now. But something plucks the harpstrings of the heart, strikes a homesick note unfiltered and bewildering, turns Ushin's eye from fields of gold and mine, from the horizon whispers Cheowalya, Yehishoan Balya, go home. And I wonder, after 31 years of I'd love to go someday, when the next flight leaves, will I catch it at last? And when I land, when I stand Erangosta here Ella, that other west coast farther east than I've ever been, will it feel like coming home? Will I bury my new Irish bones in the Tallav, the land of my granddads, when my feet find the earth, and I age 100 years for every one I've been away, brittle-boned and wither-skinned, each nut-brown hair at last the silver lining I've been looking for? What will I say? What will I say to the saint that sits at my bedside, waiting to take down my story? What myth will I leave in the time that I have, of the time it has taken to be here? Thanks very much. That's all I had picked out. So unless there is an immediate request for something else, I'm not sure what else I'd share. So if there,
Why
thank
don't
you for
you
the applause.
open your book and pick a random poem.
Oh, completely wild card. Tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Ooh, okay. It's a wild card. Um, this one's called A Sign. I found another one of the breadcrumbs you've dropped for me. This one tucked between books at the second-hand shop. Did I donate this? I asked the slender old friend of a text in my hands, and thought of you, spring cleaning 10 Aprils ahead. I peeled back the cover, hoped to discover some hint of you, an inscription perhaps, handwritten and hidden inside. I riffled the pages, sifting for traces, and found none, except, that is, for the scent of my own hair. And there, that one long hazelnut curl. Thank you very much.